Good morning to everybody and the finance minister as well. I was actually hoping that my senior, Asa Nkuma, would have come before I come. I'm sure that most of you know that we like, in the legal fraternity, we like to call senior, depending on who is older. We usually have two types. You have the senior, who is a person who is just senior to you at the bar, or you have senior properly so-called. And the senior properly so-called is a person that you did pupillage under, the person who trained you when you graduated from law school freshly. Mr. Nkuma happens to be one of the 5 seniors who trained me when I graduated fresh from law school. So he's my senior properly so-called, together with Mr. Kojo Benti-Angel, Mr. Divine Lecha, Seth Asante, and then Mrs. Rosa Kudwaji. So I was hoping that he would take the opportunity before I come in. Anyway, is there a national crisis we are facing? Definitely. It is a national crisis not because one bank has gone under. We are talking about 7 in total. That's huge. So we do have a national crisis. And I'm hoping that now that we have the national crisis, we will concentrate on national resolution of the issues so that we do not divert this either to other differences or to personalities in this matter. Of course, as the finance minister noted, part of the issues that came in have been how those who are managing the banks acted with the money, and not just them, but how the regulator in this situation also regulated the persons who were monitoring, who had the responsibility to manage the banks. Common through all the reports, including what the finance minister has said, has been the issue of corporate governance. Basically, the issue of corporate governance in the corporate world is a system of accountability. It's like, if you compare it to our constitution, we have separation of powers. So you have the corporate governance being some form of separation of powers between the various persons in the corporate setup, the shareholders, the company secretary, the directors, the auditors, and to some extent, the legal advisors. Because depending on what transactions that you have, you always need a legal opinion so that you are able to know what is required of you by law to do and to comply. I, as a Ghanaian, I actually found it quite strange and disappointed that this happened in a regulated industry. Because this is not just any industry, this is a regulated industry. And when you have a regulated industry, you have somebody responsible for regulating, more or less overseeing how affairs are being managed. In this particular case, the main regulator being the Bank of Ghana. So whilst we are resolving this crisis, what I would want to see is the steps, first of all, within the Bank of Ghana. I am more interested in what happened within the Bank of Ghana. The reason being that if you look at the legal framework that we have, if the Bank of Ghana was doing its job well, we shouldn't arrive at where we have arrived at. So for me, the first point of contact, the first point or the first place to look at is within the Bank of Ghana. What went wrong? And then if we find out what went wrong, the structures, the restructuring we are talking about, it's not just another bunch of, as we like to do, we pass laws, then we set up institutions, then we go to sleep. And then several years back down the line, we come back to where we are. This is also time for us to take audit of the various institutions and bodies we've set up. How well have they done what we have set them up to do? If they are not doing so well, then we are just wasting money. Because I don't get the point where we set up institutions, appoint people to those offices, then we start paying them salaries together with other facilities, and then the problem for which we set them up is still there. So it's time, it's not just once more going about it, passing the law, setting up the institutions, appointing people to occupying those positions, and then we go back to sleep. The public must also learn to watch. And we must learn to actually demand. I think we've set up a lot of institutions. This is time since '92 to take an audit of each of the institutions that we have set up. And we are paying. We pay taxes so that these institutions can function. We need to find out how well have they functioned. Have they been doing very well, the reasons for which we set them up? And if they are not, what should we do? Should we keep them and just be losing more money, or should we find some other solution? So the issue here, I would want to look at the corporate governance level from within the Bank of Ghana itself, the checks and balances in place, how that is resolved, and how those who were responsible are held accountable. It's not about punishing, but we also have to learn the culture of accountability. One of my disappointments usually as a Ghanaian is that most of the time when we get an opportunity, we miss it. We miss the fundamentals, and then we end up not taking a very good opportunity to do something right. I'm hoping this will not be one of them. That when we are resolving this issue, we take the opportunity to get it right the first time. We should have the experiences not to really make honest mistakes, I think. I think we've grown a lot, and that if we are determined to get it right, we can get it right. The only reason why I think we don't get it right is that we don't try hard enough, or we do not have the commitment or willing to do what it takes. So I think this is not time for any honest mistakes once more, because particularly this is the banking industry where trust is key. Everywhere around the world, the only thing that holds a banking industry afloat is trust. So there is no room, I think, for honest mistake. And I think we have the competences to get this right. We have the natural resources among all of us to be able to get this right if we want to get it right. So one, I will want to look at the Bank of Ghana. And then secondly, within the setup, the companies involved in this case, how did they carry out the affairs? It's clear, I think for most of you who have seen the report, it's clear that there were issues of corporate governance. I think we have to get back as a people and get more to that topic. I generally, when I hear people saying that, well, the Ghanaian businesses don't know how to do this and they don't know how to do that, my comment usually is, if you are in a leadership position and your people have a competence or capability issue, it doesn't lie in your mouth to complain. You can't say, well, my people are incompetent. My people don't know how to do this, and then sit back. As a leader, it is your job to make sure that they know. So if you identify a problem, you must solve it. You can't just talk about it and then leave. So if Ghanaian businesses have issues running their companies, as part of the regulator and as part of policies going forward, you must consider capacity building and make sure that you equip your people, because at the end of the day, those are the people you have. And they do have the talent that if you hone it, they can work hard. Another point that I think we will also discuss is the way we like to appoint directors. Most of the time, people just decide, okay, I like this person, or this person has this reputation, so for this reason, just come and be a board member in my company.